Club in Kuwait, and we are very happy to welcome so many guests here. Very warm welcome. More than anything else, this workshop hopes to instill a love for debating, love for getting your points across. The series of workshops, The Fine Art of Debating, has 4 elements in it. We had how to prepare for debates as the first to open up the series. This is our second workshop. Next weekend, we will have the third one. And finally, the week after, we have the final workshop. But today, this is a crucial workshop wherein our Toastmasters will learn how to debate, how to put their points across, hopefully win against your husbands and your wives. And I did not say anything, and please, I'm not spreading any message here. Very warm welcome. Please, there are a couple of rules. Please, once we start the workshop, when people start speaking, I will request everyone to mute their microphones. You are welcome to leave your videos on. It's up to you about the videos on or off, but definitely mics preferably off. Of course, from the host side, we will take care of that as well. We have, I'm opening up. Next will be DTM Murli. He is one of our members of Elite Debaters Club, and he will, in 1 minute, less than a minute, he will tell you all what he gained when he joined Elite Debaters. Then after that, we will have our mentor, DTM Wafa, the district director for District 20. We are very proud that she is a member. She will be talking about her experience, and then she will introduce Toastmaster Prince, the workshop presenter. For the moment, that's all for me today. Let me give you the rules for the timing. Once we start, 10:40, we will have the green. Our timers are Toastmaster Mazharul and Toastmaster Sham. 10:40, green. 10:45, yellow. And 10:50, red. And it remains red. And then after that, Toastmaster Prince will take his questions and answers. Subsequently, we can wind up as and when the questions are done. Till that time, till I see you at the end, it's my pleasure to please welcome right now on screen DTM Murli Manohar, who is our Division E Director, who is a member of Elite Debaters, and he will tell you in less than a minute what he learned when he joined Elite Debaters. Over to you, DTM Murli.
Yeah, good morning. This is Murli Manohar. I'm not only a Division E Director, but I'm a proud member of the LA Debaters. 7 years back when I joined LA Debaters, before that I was thinking, we all argue, we all fight, we all debate, but we do it without any proper idea and without knowing the procedures. LA Debaters, I've been delighted to be a part of LA Debaters because I've learned a lot how to tell our views in a very structured form. I can remember the days myself and now the present DD, Wafa Salman, we used to be in 2 different directions and 2 different teams, and we used to fight like anything. I used to fight thinking that I'm doing the right thing. It is correct, but it was not structured. LA Debaters really made me a lot, and especially now in the present team, especially Gayatri, DTM Gayatri and Director-elect Prince George, as well as Noor, Anwar, they all put a structured picture to it, and they've given ideas how you have to debate, structure it in such a way that you give a constructive speech, and first of all, as per the Toastmaster, respect every member. Respect their views and agree to disagree with their views. So these are the things as a debate club member I've learned. And this actually not only helps in debate club, it really helps in life to negotiate with anyone, especially with your family members. I'm a proud member now because now I can see there is an ocean of change, sea of change in my thoughts and in my communication when I talk to people or debate on any topic. It's a great platform. I urge everyone to learn, unlearn, learn and relearn about the debate procedures. The debaters are doing great with a lot of trainings and input. We all owe a lot to our guru, DTM Don Padders, who is not with us in Kuwait, but he is virtually with us regularly. And I have to mention a member who is like my own brother. We started our journey together, and he's also from my place, DTM Noor Muhammad. Now he has put the things in a very formulative way. Now anybody who becomes a member of Elite Debaters, they get a booklet through him. Booklet means a procedure, a standard operating procedure type, and he has done a lot. Thanks to DTM Noor Muhammad and DTM Don, and my sincere thanks to the present team. And any day, my DTM Wafa Salman, we have learned, at least I have learned a lot through her and through Elite Debaters. Thanks to you, Gayatri Ravindran, DTM, the VP Education, you're doing a great job. Thanks a lot. Over to you.
Thank you, DTM Murli. That was more than a minute, but thank you so much. Your words are very much appreciated. DTM Wafa, please take over and please introduce our presenter. But before that, please also tell us quickly what you have experienced in this journey of Elite Debaters. Over to you, DTM Wafa.
Thank you, Gayatri, VP Education, and good morning, debaters and all members from whatever, District 20 and outside. I have a great experience about that. And this club, I was fighting to make it alive all the times because it's a unique club. And this club will add a value for every single member visiting, not just a member, they will add a value. Now, my experience in this club is the debate itself, which Prince will explain about it today. It's a little bit different and we need it at our work. And that's what Prince will cover. However, I will talk about a little bit about mentorship. We know that in Toastmasters, the Toastmaster will mentor new members or an old member. They will mentor them through their speeches. However, the mentorship in the debate is different. We are mentoring the team, either the negative or the affirmative. We are just telling them the flow. We are following with them what are the points that they need to discover, what are how they have to cross-examine, what are the questions. Last time I was with my team and I'm the mentor only, and they rehearsed it in front of me, and I was the devil advocate and asking them questions so they can reply. I'm cross-examining them in a way so they can reply. And that helped me to create more questions while I'm cross-examined and help the team to win at the end. So the mentorship in debaters is different, and we have lots of members and we are learning while mentoring our members. So that's my experience. I love this club. This club is unique and definitely I will not leave it forever. And now let's go back to the meat of this meeting or this session, which is how to debate. And who is better to do that other than our president, the champion of evaluation? He knows he's a salesman. And when we say he's a salesman, so he's good in debating and bargaining. So he will tell us the tips and techniques, how to structure a debate, how to win a debate, and not a debate in a debaters only, even with your spouse, with your manager, with your friends, with anybody. Let's listen to our president, Prince George, and see what information we can take over with us. Now the floor is for our presenter, Prince George. Give him a big round of virtual applause. Prince, the floor is yours.
Thank you, DTM Wafa. Thank you so much for a nice introduction. Welcome, good morning, everybody, all the enthusiastic debaters we have with us today, and our dear guests, good morning to you all as well. Now, a small disclaimer before we start off this presentation on how to present the winning debate speech for all the people who are from Kuwait attending this workshop. We all know that the lockdown starts in tomorrow. So I can promise you that you will have a good argument with your wife by the end of this debate, but I cannot promise you that you will win that argument. So it's about presenting your argument well is what you're going to learn from this during this entire lockdown. That's what this is about. Thank you for joining in, and I look forward to this presentation as well. I'm just about to share my screen. Anwar, please confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, it's confirmed. We can see.
Okay, fantastic. Great. So this workshop is basically about preparing a winning debate speech. As mentioned by the legendary president, the 35th president of the United States of America, John F. Kennedy, without a debate and without criticism, no administration or country can succeed, and no republic can survive. This just highlights the importance of how the question mark, the why, the how, these question marks, how important they are to have a healthy democracy. And this is not only about a democracy, but this is also about your own house, your own circle of friends, your workplace. The question marks is what makes things go straight in a line. That's what a debate is about. And a debate and criticism is always supposed to be considered as a healthy proposition. Now, what does this workshop cover? Quickly. Firstly, why are we going to debate? What is the reason to debate? Secondly, what is the flow of a debate that we follow in our Toastmasters clubs? Thirdly, and the most important highlight of this presentation is what are the preparations that you require to deliver a winning debate speech? It will cover the skills which are personal and on the team front. Secondly, about defining the terms in a debate. Thirdly, about a team argument as a team. And fourthly, about your specific speech content that's going to help you draft a fantastic speech. I will cover each of these points as we go forward. Why do we debate? The most important objective of a debate is to win an argument. Now, why would you want to win an argument? You would want to win an argument because you are convinced that what you feel is what is right and what you feel is what is healthy. However, you are open to listen to the other opinion, which is a very important part on a debater's perspective. But the end goal of a debate is to win the debate. If any of you have witnessed the presidential debates that happen in America, you will notice how prominent personalities debate on facts, on things that happen within the country. And they convince the audience that this is what is good for the country. And this is why I must be elected as the president of the United States. So the goal of a debate is to win. Second important reason why we debate. Now, as we all know, every coin has two sides. There are two sides to a coin. As you can see in this picture, there is one side which says why something is good. And then there's the other side which will say, hey, it's not that good. So to keep an open mind towards different opinions towards anything is also why we debate. The different points of view towards any discussion is also like something important which we all develop during a debate session. Why do we debate on the skills front? Look, there is an ocean of skills which is lying out there for all of us to acquire. And the skills that you learn during a debate is something which is beyond, something which is extraordinary, because you learn so many skills which help you put forward a good proposition. Along with that, there are so many skills that you learn during this whole process of debating. You would be surprised as I take you through this presentation on what all you can learn in a debate. Again, why do we debate? We debate because in our normal life as human beings, we will come across so many situations in our life where we need to put forward a strong point. We need to put forward our opinion on some things which are very important and significant to us. The question is, how do we present it? We usually get lost on the presentation part of your thoughts. And that's what a debate helps you with, to channelize your thoughts in the right direction, to put forward a good argument. So debating can be at work, it can be in your household, it can be on the road while you're driving. So debating anywhere in your real life is what is also one of the reasons why we learn debating. And the last and important reason of why we debate is the power to influence. Now, I'm aware that most of the attendees in this meeting, in this workshop, are Toastmasters. And we are all aware of the power of influencing someone. Being on that podium, delivering an international speech with a message that is so close to our heart. We know that even if we have influenced one person in this audience to change his life, we've done our job, right? This follows exactly in a debate. Because when you are convinced about your proposition and you convince someone in the audience that this is the right way to do things and this is what is good and this is what is not so great, with your facts and figures backed up, you've done your job. And that's what debating is about, the power to influence, which is extremely important in debating. Now, about a flow in a debate. Well, there are many conventional flows or patterns of how debating is done all over the world. There are many different flows for that. But what we do follow in Toastmasters is something very specific. And I will take you through this flow. Now, before I get into the chart, just to give you a small brief, how it works is there are two teams. Okay, there is one which is the affirmative team, which speaks for a certain topic. And then you have the opposition, which is the negative team, which speaks against the same topic. So there are two teams, the affirmative and the negative. The affirmative usually has 3 members with one leading captain, who's the leader of the team. Similarly, it's the same for the negative team. There is a captain and 2 following members. So a total of 3 members per team. Okay, so what happens in this is the captain of each team starts their proposition, starts the argument, then it moves on to the team members, and then the captain comes back and summarizes. So that's the whole flow. The captain starts, the team members support, and the captain comes back in the ending and delivers the summary speech. Now, in the middle of this, how it works it goes in a zigzag pattern. So first, the affirmative speaker 1 is speaking. As soon as he's done, is the chance for the speaker 1 of the negative team, followed by speaker 2 of the affirmative team, followed by speaker 2 of the negative team. So it follows a zigzag pattern. The whole objective of the zigzag pattern is to keep it balanced. So at no point are we totally inclined towards one discussion. We are kept balanced as an audience to get both sides of the coin. Now, what also happens in the middle of 2 constructive speeches is that there is a round of cross-examination. Now, what is a cross-examination? It basically means that if I put forward a point saying that I believe in so and so, my opposition speaker has a right to come up on this podium and tell me, you know what, I don't agree with you on this point. And you know why I don't agree with you? It's because of this, this, and this. And he will tell me, do you believe that this is right? And I am supposed to answer that with my facts and figures to prove that what I'm saying is right. It is indeed what I believe in. It is indeed what is the fact. So that's what a cross-examination is about. And that's how the flow of a debate goes. So we keep it healthy. We keep it in a zigzag pattern. You have constructive speeches from both the sides, and there are cross-examinations between 2 speeches, so that we also question an argument. We don't just let it flow in the direction that someone wants it to flow. So this is how it looks like. As you can see, the affirmative team has the first affirmative, second, and third affirmative. These are the 3 participants. Parallelly, you will see the negative team, which is against the motion, which has the first negative, second, and third negative. Now, as you can see, the speaking order, the first affirmative, who's the captain of the affirmative team, gives a 4-minute constructive speech. I will get into the details of what all is covered by each speaker in the course of this presentation. But just to understand the flow, the flow of this, firstly, the first affirmative captain, he comes up and he or she speaks what they have to speak, which is followed in by a cross examination from the captain of the negative team, which lasts for 2 minutes, and then the negative team captain also gives his or her constructive speech for 4 minutes. As soon as that is done, it's the turn of the second affirmative speaker. This speaker comes up and cross-examines the first negative and then gives his or her constructive speech. So this is the zigzag pattern which is followed until the ending. The ending is the summary, and the summary is what seals the debate. This is the point of the debate where each captain comes back on the podium and puts forward his or her summary of the debate, his or her take on the debate, going back to everything that was discussed during the course and then using the art of persuasion to convince the audience that, hey, the reason I believe in this is because of 1, 2, and 3. And if you heard my opposition team, my worthy opponents, they mentioned this, and this, which I don't agree with. And they did not even have the relevant facts and figures to cover that up. So what happens when you give your summary speech is, as the audience, you've summarized it for me. And now it's my decision whether I agree with you or I don't. If I vote for you as the winning team or I don't. So this is the entire flow of a debate. Now, this is something interesting. These are the 4 pillars that we believe are important in preparing for a very good debate speech. Now, I will go through each of these in the future slides, but let me just briefly take you through them. The first one is skill sets. Now, skill sets for any human being or any individual are firstly skills that can be possessed already through the course of life, and secondly, which are acquired skills. Now, in debating, you have certain skills which you already possessed. So during the debating, during learning your debate, during the whole research process, discussions, delivery of your debate, during this whole process, those skills get more and more refined. They get more and more sharper, and it makes you much more equipped as an individual. And the acquired skill sets are skill sets that you gain during preparing for this debate, delivering this debate. I will take you through each of these skill sets separately, but there are a lot of skills which are involved, which you possess and acquire during a debate preparation. Second is defining of terms. Now, defining of terms is a concept which I will again take you through, but just to give you a brief understanding, when there is a subject, let me give you an example. The subject is resolved. Money is the best motivator for an employee at a workplace. Now, when you listen to this topic, you may have a certain interpretation of this topic. Someone else may have a completely different interpretation of this topic. For example, you may define money as currency. You may say US dollars is what I'm talking about. What is the exchange of money I get for the work I do? For me, maybe money does not mean that. Maybe money means time. Maybe what I do think is, if my boss sits with me and talks to me, invests his time in me, that is my money. That's what I gained. So if I believe that money is the time invested by my boss on me to motivate me or to help me develop my skills, and you believe that money is the currency that you get for the work that you do, we are on different planes on this debate. We are discussing 2 entirely different propositions. So what are we arguing about? So the whole concept of defining terms is that we agree, the positive, the affirmative, and the negative team agree on terms of a proposition before they come up with the debate. So which means that before the debate comes up, I agree with my opposition team that, hey, money is equal to currency. Now let's debate on money equals to currency. So we are on the same plane. The terms are defined, and there is no deviation from what we are debating about. That's what defining terms is all about. The next thing is the team argument. Now, in your speech preparation, the most important part of this entire preparation is to discuss the team argument. Now, this is when you sit with your entire team and you brainstorm. You come up with all the points and you think, and you maybe strategize on how you will put forward your argument collectively as a team, which is known as the team argument, which I will also take you through in the future slides. And the last part and the last pillar that we consider for preparation of a speech is your individual speech content. How do you draft that winning speech to go forward and win a debate is what we will speak about. So just to summarize, there are four main pillars of preparing a winning speech. One is the skills. One is defining the terms. The third is the team argument collectively. And fourth is the content of your individual speech. Now coming to the skills. Like I mentioned to you, skills are personal skills and team skills, right? So now talking about the personal skills. Now what happens in personal skills is something that we develop as individuals during the course of a debate. Now, so some of the important, or one of the most important aspect of a debate and a skill that you acquire is that you learn to segregate an issue with a person. Now, if you think a little deeper about what I'm saying, is let's say you're having a discussion with your friend. Let's say you don't like him for some reason. What happens in that is that your inclination towards rejecting his points will be much more because you don't like him or you like him less. Maybe his proposition is extremely logical, but you already have a preconceived notion or a preconceived feeling about that argument, and it disturbs you. So what are we doing there? We are mixing the issue and the person. So what happens in a debate is we learn specifically how we maintain our calm, our poise as debaters, and we tackle only the issue which is being discussed. We do not get carried away. We do not get aggressive to a point where we are losing our cool, because it's not about a person. It's about the issue. We are discussing the issue. There are positives and negatives to any particular issue, and that's what we are supposed to address. It is so important, and I've highlighted this so many times during most of my workshops and discussions we've had. It's so important to not get emotionally carried away during a debate. It is only human to get emotional and get carried away, get upset, get perturbed. But the skill of a real debater is to maintain his poise and to segregate an issue from a person and only address the issue specifically with facts and figures and attack the point and leave the person aside. Very important. The second important skill that I feel is also developed is something about active listening. Now, what happens in this debate is the debaters cannot be caught off guard. You cannot be caught off guard. You have to be attentive as a debater throughout the debate, because you are going to go through cross-examinations. You are going to cross-examine your opponent. So you have to be extremely alert during a debate. And this is it's a very important skill set, because what happens to us usually is when someone is talking, oh, well, this is pretty much for most of us married people out here, when it happens with me a lot. So when my wife is talking, initially, when she starts talking, I have already decided what she's coming up with. And in my mind, I already know that I'm done with this conversation. It happens to most of us, right? But what happens sometimes is that she's probably driving another point altogether, but I don't have the patience to listen to it. And that's where I lose out on my active listening skills. But then active listening is about having the patience, being calm, listening to everything, and then thinking, what are your counter arguments to that? You don't jump the gun. So active listening is a skill you acquire through debates. I'm not specifically saying it helps me at home, but it's a skill that comes up once you are through with the debates. It's something that you acquire as well. The second or the third important thing is your in-depth analysis. Now, what happens in a debate is it's not only that you are preparing your debate, you're also listening. So you are analyzing all the points, and this is exceptionally important for the team captain. So what is the team captain doing is And the team captain has to be the most alert, because the team captain has to come back in the ending to summarize the argument, right? So the team captain is going to be sitting, is going to be listening actively, not only to the other team, but also to his own team members on what happened during a cross examination, and will be noting down all the points that need to come back in the summary. And these points have to be analyzed in depth, because any point you put forward that can be refuted and has a loophole in it, you haven't done a good job as a debater. So you need to corner someone who's your opposition. You need to corner this person, and that's what a healthy debate is about. So you need to in depth analyze what you're going to put forward as a proposition. Quick thinking, this is a skill that you acquire because even as a team, when you're preparing, there are so many points that come up during your brainstorming sessions as a team, that you learn to be at your feet, you learn to jump, you learn to think quick. Also during the debate, this is a skill that also comes in during the debate, because you are being cross-examined during the cross-examination. So what do? You know your opposition is going to corner you with a point, with a certain fact or figure that you may not have any answer to. So you need to be quick, you need to think, you need to come back with an argument which is going to corner your opponent. And these are skills that come up through the course of your experience as a debater, where you get really sharp with thinking quick and coming back with solid arguments that drive your points ahead. The next one is presentation. About presentation, I learned something very interesting. It's a very interesting thing I learned with Aditya Maheshwari, one of our top speakers, in a recent talk that he had with us. He spoke about psychological framing. Now, for those who are not aware of what psychological framing is, I'll give you a small example. It's a very interesting example. So there is a church sermon which is ongoing, and there are two young boys who are in the church. The doors of the church are closed, and one of the boys tells the other friend, listen, I feel like smoking. I really want to smoke now. So what do I do? The other friend tells him, why don't you go ask the priest? So he goes up to the priest and he says, Father, I feel like smoking. Can I smoke? I mean, I will pray, but can I smoke? The priest says, no. How can you even ask me a question like that? Just go back to your seat and pray. Then the other friend says, don't worry, I will handle this. He goes up to the priest and he says, Father, I really want to pray. I really, really want to pray. I have such deep thoughts inside me. I really want to pray. Is it okay if I smoke while I'm praying? And the priest's eyes they just lit up, and he says, my son, go ahead and pray. So what happened here? It's just how was the point framed? So what happens for the priest is he's focusing on the pray part of the second friend's sentence, which is how you put forward your proposition. And that's what the presentation is all about. The presentation is about psychological framing. How do you frame those questions? How do you frame your speech so that you influence someone in such a strong manner? That's what it's about. And the last one, of course, like we discussed, was your skills to influence someone. Like I did mention before, as Toastmasters, we as public speakers, we enjoy the power of influencing someone, of changing someone's life. And for those who debate, they acquire the skill at a much higher level, because you are driving a point forward. You have an audience that's sitting there listening to you, and you know that one point that you put forward can really change someone's life. So that's the power of influencing someone that you also gain as a skill during your debates. Now about the team. What are the team skills that you learn during this? Firstly, as a team, you sit together and prepare. When you prepare your arguments, you learn that each of your team members has a different point of view. Each of your team members has a different way of handling situations, has a different perspective towards everything that you're talking about. So you learn to prepare cohesively as a team towards one argument. In speeches, it's different. You're on your own. You just do your own thing. You prepare your own speech. You have mentors. You do your own thing. But in a debate, it's team. It's a team. So that either the team wins or the team loses. There's no second way. So preparing for this debate as a team in itself opens your eyes towards a lot of different perspectives and thoughts and different ways of handling issues and people that you will learn through a debate. The second important part of team skills that are built up is also, fairly distributing the points in your argument. Now, you may, as a team, shortlist, let's say, 10 points that you may want to really strongly put forward. How do you distribute these points within your team members? That's an added skill. Now, what I have learned through my whole period as a debater is there are some points in your proposition that a certain team member would be extremely passionate about. Now, what comes out the most effectively is your passion. We've all seen that, right? During our whole education, life of education and all, we know which subjects we would really excel at and enjoyed studying and which we wouldn't want to turn back and look at even today. That's your natural passion. That's who you are. So there are certain points that a certain team member may really be passionate about. Give him a chance to speak that point. As a team captain, delegate that. Distribute that to that particular team member. Also, you need to frame your argument and distribution in a way that you have points which balance your argument. You have spread it across in that manner. Maybe you have your strongest points when you start off. Maybe you have your strongest points when you end your proposition or your constructive speech. So that's something that a team captain decides along with his teammates. But distribution of points to be covered during a debate is also a skill set that you acquire during a debate. Thirdly, any additional information that comes up on the table is always something that adds to your own knowledge and to your own skill sets. Fourthly, something very important in a debate is the concept of a counter view. Now, what happens in a debate is we tend to prepare our proposition. So we are ready with our constructive proposition on what we are going to be speaking about. But debaters who really excel at what they do spend an equal amount of time preparing for what the opposition team could come up with. Now, if you can enlist 5 or 10 points that you are sure your opposition team is going to put forward in that debate, you are ready for the battle. Because you know that if this point comes up, this is what I'm going to say. And if this fact or this figure comes up, this is my answer to that. It's your preparation on your counter views, on what views can come up from your opposition team. And also, when you put forward a certain opinion, what can be challenged by your opposition? Are you ready for that challenge? So that's what is being ready and learning your skill sets on being ready with counter views. Fifthly, handling scenarios. Now, cross-examination, for example, is a scenario. You are in the corner, you're being asked a question, and you have to answer that. So, thinking quick and working as a team in that scenario on how you will tackle these issues is an acquired skill set. Also, this also applies to the summary, because when the team captain comes back in the ending and summarizes his team's proposition, he needs to talk about only the points that were very critical, that will shift the entire balance of the debate towards his or her team. So in that real-time scenario, how our minds work and process is an added skill set that comes up. And lastly, resilience. Like I said, you tackle the issue, not the person. And resilience is something that also comes up in this debate. It makes you strong. It makes you open to criticism. A lot of us may not be great with handling criticism. We may feel that, hey, I'm not that bad. I mean, I'm not wrong with that. But then during the course of a debate, when someone challenges your views with facts, statistics, figures, you have to accept that the other person has a point. And that is the resilience that comes up within you, which makes you feel that, okay, fine, I may not be the best at this particular thing, at this particular point. Maybe there's a counter view that makes more sense than I have. So just to summarize, the skill sets that are required and are acquired both during your debate preparations and delivery is can be personal, and it can be team skills, both. And both have been explained to you on this sheet. Now, moving forward, I did mention to you all about defining terms. Now, what is defining terms in a debate? I will just briefly take you through that. Firstly, let's again go with the example that we had resolved. Money is the best motivator in a workplace. Now, when you define terms, what you do is you pick out the key words in the proposition. So when you pick out the key words in this proposition, for example, the example I gave you already, you pick out the term money and you define what is money so that both the teams are discussing the same thing. So when you define terms, you pick out the key words in the proposition to be defined. The next thing, which is also a reason why you define these terms, is so that all of you 6 participants are on the same page. It's so important that you are arguing on the same point rather than speaking of 2 entirely different arguments which are like parallel lines which do not meet. What is the whole objective of the debate? Who wins the debate when you talk about 2 different parameters altogether? Nobody. So since you want to be on the same page and you want to argue or you want to debate on a certain perspective on something, you need to define your terms through those keywords so that you are on the same page. What also happens if you don't define these terms is that a certain team can have the undue advantage in that situation, because a certain term can push forward one team's argument if it is not defined concretely. So you don't want that imbalance to happen during a debate. You don't want one team to get an advantage over another team, right? So it should be a fair debate. Debate is about being fair and just putting forward facts to support your argument. We don't want that imbalance to happen at all. So that's the reason we define terms. So just to summarize what is defining terms again, first, you pick out keywords. When you define these terms, you pick out the keywords in the proposition. The second is you ensure that all of you are on the same page as a team and you're not deviating from what the argument is about. And the final thing is about maintaining the balance, about being fair on what exactly you are talking about. Now, let me give you a small example, the example that I've been stating from the beginning. Resolved that money motivates people more than any other factor in the workplace. Now, quickly, if someone can just speak up and let me know, what is the terms that you would like to define in this proposition? Anyone would like to probably give us some feedback on this? Yes, DTM Vinod Panikar. Host, can you please unmute Vinod Panikar? Yes, Vinod, we can hear you now. We can hear you now. Sorry, Vinod, your voice is not clear.
You know?
Yes, Vinod, tell me, we can hear you now.
Okay, so I'll define now.
Yes.
Okay, then I will define motivation.
Yes.
And the word more than, because that is I feel a tricky word. It can be like the against person can say it is a motivator, but more than what? Correct. That is a question mark. And workplace.
Correct.
And I will bring in the factors also, but definition of money, motivation, and workplace, and highlighting the more than would be the key.
Perfect. Vinod, you want to take over this presentation? I think you know a lot.
No, it's okay. I love debating.
Oh, great. Wonderful, Vinod. Thanks. I'll just mute you now. Yeah?
Thank you.
Great. So Vinod has said exactly the right things, that I was expecting someone to mention. So he's exactly defined the right terms. Now, if you see, there are many tricky words in this statement. Let's go one by one. Money. How money is defined, which two teams have agreed on, is money is a current medium of exchange in the form of coins and banknotes, payment for work, wages. It's very clear, right? Now, if I had not defined this, like I did mention before, I could have equated time with money. I could have said the time invested by my boss sitting with me and motivating me is what money is for me, my interpretation. But then when you do this and you emphasize about the fact that it's about banknotes, it's about currency, you have clearly defined what money is. The next one is about motivates. What is motivate? Now, people can get motivated for different reasons, but you define what motivates means in this particular debate. It is to provide someone with a reason for doing something. That's what is important. People. You also define people. Now, people can be anything, right? But what we are talking about is human beings in general or considered collectively. And workplace. A workplace is basically about a place where people work, such as an office or a factory. It, maybe your wife may say workplace is the kitchen, but it may not be exactly what we are talking about, right? The whole debate may be about something else. And I will take DTM Vinod's suggestion. And of course, Dan can also be a part of, can also be a part of what is being defined in this debate, because it's a tricky word. Well, now the second example, this is the only second and last example, resolve that experience is the best teacher. Now, if anyone would like to just tell me what are the key words that you may want to talk about in this particular resolution. Anyone? Yes, Agnes. Host, can you unmute Agnes?
Hello. Yeah, thank you. I would define experience as well as teacher, or maybe even best teacher.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Agnes. Thank you so much. As rightly said by Agnes, as rightly pointed out, you will define experience. Now, experience as defined is an event or an occurrence which leaves an impression on someone. That's an experience. Best is the most appropriate, advantageous, or well advised. And a teacher, specifically a person or a thing that teaches something, especially a person whose job is to teach students about certain subjects. So you know exactly who is the teacher here. You know exactly what is the experience you're talking about. Now that these terms have been defined, both the teams are on the same page, and that's where the debate is. So the first thing we spoke about was the skills you acquire. Then we spoke about defining terms. And now we are coming to this term of team argument. What is the team argument about? Now, the team argument, basically, as I would like to summarize it, are about brainstorming with your team when you start and brainstorming with your team when you're ready to finalize. And in the middle of these two brainstorming sessions is what your individual preparation is all about. So let's go step by step. What is brainstorm round one? Now, when you get your proposition as a team, what is the first thing that you do? You call up each other. Nowadays, Zoom is what is happening. So you have Zoom calls or you have WhatsApp calls with each other, and you connect with each other and you talk about, hey, what is this whole discussion about? So the first question, what is the background of this? Going back to the hypothetical debate that the example that I've been talking about, money is the best motivator at a workplace. So you need to sit back, fold your hands and think, what is the background of this debate? Well, what I feel the background is about this debate is that maybe we need to study what really motivates someone at a workplace. What is that one or two most important, what are those one or two most important things that change someone's performance at a workplace? So you go back into the background of what this whole discussion is about, what this whole proposition is about, and you start from scratch. So when you go back to the background of the debate, you know where you're heading, because you know what people who are listening to you really want to hear, because there is a background to this question and you need to address that. The second important part of a brainstorming session is when each of the members comes forward and puts his points up. So what happens is every team member is listening to the points. Now, when you're listening to these points, you are enlisting the points down and you are kind of shortlisting these points in your mind, thinking, are these the points that are going to make us win this debate? Or are these the points that I want to keep in the back burner and then probably consider them at a later stage? So shortlisting of these points is so important. When you have a brainstorming session, there are so many thoughts that come up. There are so many perspectives of a certain debate that come up. You would be surprised. But what you need to do is you need to shortlist those points and come up with those few, maybe 10 points that really are going to propel your debate in a certain direction and are going to make you win that debate with very strong points. So shortlisting of those brainstorm points is very important. The third part about the first brainstorming session is how do you analyze and build the case? Now, analyzing and building the case is basically about these are my thoughts. These are the points I've shortlisted. Now, how am I going to present these points? How am I going to build on the case for my team? And please remember that we are talking about this collectively as a team right now. Okay, so as a team, how do you want to build your case? So maybe one member will say, hey, we should start with this point because this is really strong. And the other person says, hey, yeah, that makes sense. Why don't we go ahead and then talk about this because these 2 points connect? And then this. And then someone says, but you know what? I think we should end with this point because this is going to be the final nail on the coffin. So what happens with that is as a team, you decide the flow of your speech of how you are going to build your case from scratch up till the end. And you're going to deliver that master speech as a team. So that's what it's about, to analyze and build your case. The next part about your brainstorming session is also to focus on data. Now, what happens with data? Data is something which is one of the most critical and influential points in a debate. Now, I could tell you that I am, for example, again, hypothetically, I could tell you that I'm the best father the world can have. But if I ask my wife will say that last night at 9:27 p.m., your son was asking you to play with him while you were busy on your phone. It happens to most of us, right? So what happens with that is she's come up with data, she's come up with facts, she's come up with statistics, and she's right. So what do I say to that? I can't say anything. So that's where data, statistics, facts, examples, studies by certain reports, through certain reports, these are points that push your debate forward. These are points that make your debate a master speech, right? So you have to discuss data as well to further propel your speech ahead. Very important with collectively within a team. And the last point, like we discussed again, was distribution of these points. So these are the things you do in the round one of brainstorming when all of you have probably read up a bit, seen a bit of what the debate is about, come into a meeting and you are discussing about how you want to take the debate forward. So that's your brainstorm session one, where you talk about the background, you shortlist the points, you build your case as a team, you all have your data in place, which are going to push your points forward, and you distribute the points as per what you think is the best flow of speech, or like I did mention about certain points that any team member is really passionate about. You give it to him because he can speak about that point better than anyone else. So you consider these and you build your brainstorm round one. Now, what happens after brainstorm round one? As individual team members, you're on your own now. Now you know exactly what is expected from you as a team member. You sit down. You have your 3 or 4 points that you need to cover during your constructive speech. You research, you go online, you do your research, you read books that are available either online or anywhere else, which give you a deeper insight into each of those points. You ready your facts, you ready your statistics, you are ready with your points. So what you're doing during this individual preparation time is you are preparing the content of your own individual speech. So like I said, there is a team captain, there are 2 team members. So each of you prepares your individual speech. The next thing is, which is also very important in individual speech preparation, is the typical Toastmaster word is the opening, body, and conclusion, the OBC. Now, why I wanted to mention it here is because, like we have learned through our journey in Toastmasters, presentation is so important. So when you present your proposition forward, you have to have a strong start. You start off in a way that you have everyone on the edge of their seats and they want to listen to what you're going to talk about. So I'm talking about drafting your individual speech here. So you start off with a great opening that gets everyone aligned with your thoughts. Then you build onto your case with whatever point you're talking. And then there is the conclusion of your speech. In the conclusion of your speech, you do not waste the last 20 seconds or 30 seconds of your speech. You utilize those 30 seconds. Those are the critical 30 seconds, because even if someone was not paying too much attention during your part of your speech, but the conclusion is what changes the game for you. That's when you come up and say, my worthy opponents and the audience that's listening to me here today, my fellow debaters, the reason I do not agree with these points are because of this, this, and this. And this is what I have mentioned during my constructive speech, during my speech to you. And I believe that this is true because of these particular things, the facts. And you end off your last 15, 20, 30 seconds with a power punch, which concludes your argument. And it leaves a lasting impression in the mind of the audience that's there. Now, after you've prepared your individual speeches, measuring your content and your opening body and conclusion, having a speech ready individually, that's when you come back together as a team. And this is what I call as a brainstorm session round 2. Now, what happens particularly in this session is everyone comes up with thoughts back to a common platform and we discuss it. Now, there can be differences of opinion within a team. It could be that I believe in this and I've put this into incorporated that in my argument, but my team captain says, no, this is not something that I think you should say because of these reasons. Again, active listening comes in. We learn to listen to the team captain, or we learn to listen to our fellow team members and hear them out. Maybe they have a point, maybe they don't. And then if we still believe what we are right with this, we can give our counter views and say that, no, I would like it to be like this because it will influence the audience in this particular manner. Done. So what happens is you slowly streamline your entire debate as a team, where you cut off the parts as a team collectively, which may not be that influential, and you incorporate certain parts which can really change the course of your debate. So streamlining. Then you move to finalize your entire debate front on the captain will speak these things, then your team member is going to speak these points, and then the final and last team member will speak these points. So that's how you finalize the script of your debate. The last thing and the most important thing in brainstorming round 2 is being ready with counter views. So I did mention to you earlier, counter views are views that your team will be faced with during cross-examinations, or these are the views that you can counter your opposition with. So you know that your opposition is going to come up with these 5 points that are going to steer their debate, and you are ready with those points with facts and figures that will challenge those points. So it's not just preparing your own debate or your own proposition, but it's also preparing or being ready smartly for the argument that your opposition is going to come up with, and being ready for those points. If you have your facts and figures ready, the game is yours. So that's what preparing your team argument is all about. Brainstorming session 1 as a team, then individual preparation again when you do it on your own, and brainstorming round 2 when you collectively sit again as a team and you streamline that speech and you finalize your speech, and you ready, each one of you individually ready each other with what the other team could speak with. So you're all on the same page for this debate. Now coming to the speech content. Now this is the final part of preparing a debate speech. Now what is the speech content? Speech content is specifically what you would draft in your constructive speech. Let me tell you that the speech content for the team captain will be different from the speech content from the team members. The reason being, this team captain is going to come up on the podium. If he's from the affirmative team, he will define the terms. He will define the terms first. Then he would put forward, first, of course, he would say, what is the debate about? Resolved, this is the topic. Then he would define the terms in the debate. Then he would speak about what are the points that his team members and his entire team are going to cover. And then he would go up with his constructive speech of probably 2 or 3 points that he would have time for. So that's how it works. Now, specifically talking about team captains, how and what do you do to develop your speech content? First part of your speech, of course, after wishing the dignitaries and after wishing the audience, you first state the resolution. Resolved, money is the best motivator at a workplace. You state the resolution. Then you define the terms of the resolution. Now, these terms of the resolution, like I did mention before, have already been discussed between two team captains much before the preparations for the debate have started as well. So we are all on the same page. They have been agreed upon, and when you agree upon something, you mention that we have defined the terms of this resolution as follows. Money is bank currency, so and so. That's how you define the terms. If you are the negative team captain, you save that time because the burden of mentioning the terms of the resolution lies on the affirmative team, the positive team. The negative team just has to mention that they accept the terms of the debate, because the terms have been discussed and accepted. So when they come up, as a team captain comes up, has to say, I agree to these terms. So what happens with that is the entire audience knows that both of you are on the same page. Both the teams are going to be discussing the same thing. So first, state the resolution. Second, define the terms of the resolution. Summarize the affirmative position. Now, the team captain, of course, has to summarize what is the affirmative position, has to say that my worthy opponents, my dear worthy opponents and fellow debaters, I firmly believe, and my team firmly believes, that money is the best motivator in a workplace. And the reason we believe it is because of whatever, the summary, right? So you have to start off talking about what is the exact point you want to drive during this debate. That's where you summarize your position as a team. Next is you enlist the points which your team will be covering. You would say that I myself would be covering 1, 2, 3. My team member, so-and-so, would be covering 4, 5, 6. And my fellow team member would be covering 7, 8, 9. So you are clear when you start the debate, what are the points you're going to cover and what is the stand that your team has on this debate. And finally, you come up with your constructive speech, which is the 3 points or 2 or 3 points that were allocated to you. You speak about them specifically and you say that these are the points I want to discuss, and come up with your facts and figures that you've prepared with and drive forth your point. So that's what the team captains do. Just to summarize again, the team captain comes up and states the resolution. He defines the terms. As a negative team captain, you accept the terms if they've been already defined by your counterpart. You summarize your position, what your position on the debate is. Then you enlist all the points that your team would be covering, and then you come up with your own constructive speech in whatever time is left within your speaking time. Now, what are the team members going to speak? Now, once the captain is done with, it's going to be the team members' time after the zigzag pattern that we already discussed about. The team members would first give a brief refutation or a cross-examination, like I did mention before. You would be cross-examining the speaker who has spoken before you. You have 2 minutes for that. So you would be speaking about that. You would question, like we started with the John F. Kennedy quote. You would question what your opponent is talking about. You will question certain parameters, certain facts, because you are ready with facts and you can challenge those points. So that's where you start off with. Again, you refer to your team's position. You would say that my worthy opponents and my dear fellow debaters, the reason we believe in this is because of this. You talk about a certain parameter of what is your team's position. Then you directly come up with your constructive speech. So the second speaker does not have the burden of defining the terms, does not have the burden of talking about what his entire team is going to be covering, but has the liberty to just speak about his or her constructive points, which is 3 or 4 solid points that can be driven forward. You can start off with a rebuttal, which is probably, just stating a sentence or something, which is to like we say, take a dig on your opposition team where you probably don't agree with something, right? So you can start off with that. So you have the audience already on your side when you started off, and then you speak about your 3 or 4 points or whatever number of points that you are ready with for your debating. And as soon as you're done with that, you summarize your argument. Like I did mention before, the summary of an argument is very critical, because this is where you influence your audience. You come back in your last 20, 30 seconds and you say, the reason, like I have emphasized, the reason we believe in these points is because of this, this, and this. And these are the facts that I have mentioned to you, and I'm convinced that this is what it is. So when you come back with that strong and passionate summary, it really pulls your debate to another level. So we've covered what a team captain speaks, what team members speak. Now, like I did mention, team captain speaks, team member speaks, and then is the final part, which is the team summary. So this is where the captain comes back. Now, what I did mention to you also was the captain has to be the most alert in this entire debate, because right from the beginning to the end, the captain has to make his notes. The reason he has to make his notes is because he has to come back in the end towards the summary and summarize the entire proceedings of the debate in a nutshell. So what does the captain have to do? He has to talk about basically about what was the proposition and points put forward by his team. Then he also has to address the points which were put forward by the opposition team, which they don't agree with for whatever reasons. There could be a cross-examination where you had an edge over the other team. You want to bring that back in your summary and remind the audience that, hey, listen, do you remember that my opposition could not answer this point? Do you remember that my point was much more stronger and more influential than my opponent's point? Do you remember that? So this is what it's about. So you bring that back in the summary. So what you do is you analyze the entire debate as a team captain and you address critical issues. You have 3 minutes to summarize. So in these 3 minutes, you are going to use words which are going to change the course of this debate. You will pick up points that will influence the course of the debate, that will push your debate to another level, which will make your standing very strong in the debate. So you pick out only those particular critical issues that were already discussed during the debate. No new points. In a team summary, there is nothing that is introduced which is new. Just to be very clear about that, because there is no time for new arguments in the debate. You have 3 minutes. You need to summarize your stand and address critical issues addressed by your opponents and challenge them and summarize the whole debate with whatever was discussed during that debate. Like I did mention, refute your opposition team's arguments. There could have been many points that they put forward as a team. You could pick and choose the points that you may want to state in your summary that you think will influence the audience. So you refute those points, you challenge those points with whatever statistics you have in place. You can say something like 55% of the world's population, as per the WHO report on health or whatever, as per the report in 1992 or 2002, mentioned this or whatever, so something on those lines with statistics. You challenge your opposition with certain points. So you analyze the entire debate as a team captain and address those critical issues. You refute your opposition team's arguments. Like I did mention again, was that you do not introduce anything new in the debate, because this is a team summary. This is where you are saying that, hey, this is what was discussed, and this is why I still feel that my argument is strong, and this is why I deserve to win this debate. So you don't introduce any new arguments. You don't even have the time for that as a team captain. And yes, of course, by the ending, when you are ending your summary speech, so we are talking about the summary within the summary. So in your summary speech, you have your last 20, 30 seconds to again summarize your team's position, to tell everyone, this is what we believe in, and this is what we have put forward, and this is why our argument is so strong and powerful. And I'm sure each one of you believes in me, and I'm sure each one of you agrees with this. And the last part, like I said, close and direct appeal to the audience to concur with your team's position. Now, it's so important as a debater that you have the entire audience with you. Now, this is also a skill that we learn through Toastmasters journey as public speakers, where you get the audience involved with you. You get them to be on your side of the argument. Again, there are persuasion skills that you develop during this whole course of learning how to be a debater. And when you appeal to an audience and you tell them that these are the points, I believe that you agree with me, and you see them nodding their heads, you know that somewhere you've done a good job, right? So as a debater, you have to appeal to your audience in the ending to conquer with your team's position. And that's what drives the debate ahead. It's when everyone listening to you is convinced that your point makes sense and you have valid arguments, that's what wins the debate for you. So that's pretty much what I had to cover during this preparing of winning your speech or preparing a winning speech. A quick recap through this entire presentation. Why do we debate? We discussed why do we debate, of the goal of a debate and why exactly we debate is what was covered. Second, what is the flow of the debate? Like we mentioned about the zigzag pattern of how the affirmative team captain, the negative team captain, and it flows in a zigzag pattern. And that's how a debate is usually held, with the summary again in the ending, the flow. And then we spoke about the debate preparations. So what are the preparations you require in a debate? The skills that you have, possess already, and ones which you will acquire personally and also as a team. Second was defining the terms, like we also went through 2 examples on how you define terms. The third was setting up your whole team's argument on how you will brainstorm and set up an argument of how you are going to put forward your proposition as a team together. And the last and the most important is the content of your individual speech. So we discussed that as well. How is it that a team captain is going to speak? How is it that the members are going to speak? And how is it that the team captain is going to come back at the ending and summarize the entire discussion? So that's what this whole presentation or workshop was all about. Thank you all for being a wonderful audience. Unfortunately, because of this whole online thing, we cannot, everyone's on mute, so I can't hear much of you. But thank you again for being a wonderful audience. And we're open to questions and answers. Back to the moderator. I would give the podium back to Wafa.
DTM Wafa,
Yes.
floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Prince, for the lovely presentation. You went thoroughly with lots of examples, and I think it's crystal clear. Let's see if there is questions from the audience. Audience can write on the chat if there is any question, and we will follow it up. We will give a timer. Please give me 5 minutes question because we don't have much time. However, all the questions that will be sent to the chat, we will send. Anwar, just a minute. Timer, 5 minutes for the questions. And
4 to 5 minutes.
Sure, 5 minutes, yeah.
And all people can write the questions and we will answer them later. But first question.
Yes, please.
Yes. Please state your question.
Is it possible to see all this in action?
Yes, of course. We are a debate club and we have debates regularly. Coincidentally, we have a debate coming up on the 13th, which is about 4 days from now. We have 2 dynamic teams who are readying for a debate, and you would be most welcome. So, I mean, we have our team who would be sending across all the invites for this particular debate. It's on the 13th. So you're most welcome to visit us, be with us during the debate, and you will see this whole thing in action, definitely.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yes,
Gayatri.
No. Please go ahead.
Based on what you will select the resolution, resolve for?
Sorry, I didn't get the question, Wafa.
How do you select the resolution? based on what? Or is it randomly selected? Is it by agreeing or what? Or there is a plan in your within your
So
club?
you mean the whole resolution of the debate?
Absolutely.
So how it works is that we have a debate club now within the team members or the XCOM. We brainstorm regularly on what are the resolutions that we have in place that could, with which we could put forward an active debate for whoever's interested in coming forward and debating. So we have shortlisted topics, and depending on how the situation is or what we think is the right thing to do, we decide as a team that this would be a good proposition to debate on. We have also moved towards finalizing these resolutions for a period of, let's say, about 3 months, and having our propositions ready, our resolutions ready, and whoever is interested can come forward and be a part of this debate.
Okay. There is a question in the chat from Vinod Paniker saying that many people quote data from Wikipedia. Is it a good practice? What would be the proper approach to present data argument? Very good question.
Good question, Vinod. Vinod, as a debater, I would love to have my opposition team quoting something from Wikipedia. The reason being is because we all know that Wikipedia is editable, right? So it can be edited by the end users. We all know that it's not something that you can come up and say as a source of information which cannot be challenged. Of course, it can be challenged. Wikipedia is not the right source of your information in a debate. In a debate, you go with reports. You go with official reports by the United Nations or the World Health Organization or encyclopedias or something which is really credible. We don't consider Wikipedia as a credible source because it is the information is not by credible sources. It's through people, and it's not an argument which has enough weightage. So it's always advisable to go up or to come up with strong and credible information that really emphasizes your strong points.
There is a question as while we put forward our data for credibility, facts or status?
Facts or statistics? Yeah, okay. So both are a part of your debate. You can talk about facts. Again, you need to mention the source of that fact. You can't just say that 20% of the people in this world are work out every day. You can't just say that. You have to say that as per a report by XYZ organization, as per a study done on this particular date, 20% of the world's population works out every day. So these are statistics. And then there are facts, of course, that go through a debate. So both are very important and both are critical in a debate. The basic point is that whatever you talk about, it needs to be backed up with credible sources from where you've got this information. It cannot be something which is not credible. It cannot be something which can be challenged. That's the whole basic point.
There is a question about what is the role of the moderator during his or her scope, and the second question during the summary, is it possible to add new facts, or it's not a new argument to add the fact at this debate?
Okay, so there are two questions. First, I'll address the moderator part. So the moderator's role is basically to introduce the speakers, to introduce the debate, and to introduce the speakers, saying that the team captain would now come up and present his speech. So then the team captain has 4 minutes. Once the team captain is done with his speech, then the moderator says, thank you. Now I would like to call upon the speaker of the negative team, the team captain of the negative team, to come forward for a cross-examination for 2 minutes. Similarly, the moderator facilitates the entire debate until the ending, where he talks about, please come up for your summary speeches, and moderates the entire debate. The only additional point that a moderator has is to also control a debate. So sometimes when things go offhand, it happens, sometimes we are emotional beings. The role of the moderator is to tell the audience or to tell the debaters that, I would like to hold this discussion here. You've made your point. Please move forward. Or the moderator comes up during a cross-examination and says that you are talking, but you're not asking your question. So may I have your question, please? which is what a cross-examination is about. So that's what a moderator does. He is the center of the whole debate. He or she facilitates the entire debate. Now, the second point about the summary. As rightly said, the summary, you do not introduce anything new, because a summary is the part 3 minutes. You have just 3 minutes to get your entire debate into a nutshell and convince the audience and your opposition that this is the point that you want to drive through, and you cannot introduce anything new in that. In fact, as someone who's going to judge you, if you do introduce new facts, you would be losing points in your ballot. So it's better to not introduce anything new. Just stick to your arguments and the counter arguments that you think were really strong.
Thank you, Prince.
5 minutes are over, DTM Wafa.
Okay, very good. Now we have lots of questions in the chat, and I think VP Education and Anwar will take care of these questions and will make them as question and answer, like FAQ, and we can share them through our media.
We can also, after the meeting is officially over, I will be here online. So if anyone wants to have a discussion informally, I will be here, so we can discuss that.
Excellent.
So now back to the Toastmaster of the Day, Gayatri.
Thank you, DTM Wafa. Well, I'm sure you all enjoyed yourself. Not only enjoyed, you also had a good learning experience. At this moment, DTM Wafa and Toastmaster Prince, with your permission, I will unmute everybody so that people have an opportunity to share their questions and ask questions, because I have another similar meeting to go. So I will make Toastmaster Prince as the host, and then he will be here for a little longer, and he will continue the question.
Gayatri, are we doing the picture, the team picture now?
I'll take it now. That's what I'm coming to. I'm just coming to them, because I will not leave you on. Please open up the windows, all your videos. Let me see your faces, please. Look at that. Such handsome faces. I love this. You know what? This is probably the most satisfying moment when you see all of us connected from where all, and we are all together as debaters. Excellent to see handsome faces and beautiful faces. I am going to stop my video and I will take your photograph, and then I will take mine as well. Are we ready? Smile, please. I just clicked multiple photographs. You are all celebrities. And I will have one more, please, if you don't mind. I can't see Rob, I can't see Krishna, Yasmin, Zainab, Sangeeta, Faraya, Ahmed. Yalla, guys, come on. Blossom, you look gorgeous, as always. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much, Krishna. Thank you. Finally,
Thank you,
to be able to put faces to the names. Excellent. Very, well, warm thanks. Warmest thanks that you were all able to attend this workshop. We're happy that you joined us. I will be leaving this open. Toastmaster Prince is here. I know there are a number of questions. Hashim had a couple of questions, and there were others also. Please go right ahead and keep asking questions. But I will tell you this, next week, next weekend, next Saturday, probably the same time. If there are changes, we will let you know. We have the third of our workshop series. And that is going to be on cross-examination and rebuttal. Crucial if you want to win over, especially if the husbands want to win over the wife. Please, this is directly to all husbands. If you would like some pointers on how you can win over in a debate with your wife, well, wives, we have it all covered. Now, this is the point that you need to be there. Next Saturday, probably 10 to 11 a.m. with DTM Noor Muhammad. I'm happy to say that Noor Muhammad was one of the founder members of Elite Debaters, and he has contributed a lot to this growth of the club. DTM Wafa has been our mentor, and she's been standing with us through thick and thin. Next week, you will learn how to cross-examine after what Toastmaster Prince has just expressed today. You will learn how to put forth questions so that you trap the other team member and you're able to make them literally speechless, so to speak. But more of that next week from DTM Noor Muhammad. The following weekend, we have 4 weeks, so 4 Saturdays. The following weekend would be our last in the series on evaluation. That will be DTM Wafa who will conduct that session. Details will be available on our Facebook page, Elite.Debaters, and on our YouTube channel, Elite.Debaters. Please keep yourself updated with our pages and our channel. And also it will be all posted on the online resources from where I'm sure you all are here. Toastmasters resources, Toastmasters online, and as many other forums as possible. Thank you so much for joining in. I've taken your photograph and the floor is now open for all of you to ask your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gayatri. Thank you so much. Just for everyone's information, the meeting is officially over, so we are done with the meeting. But for all those who want to be around and discuss questions and discuss things, I'm here and we are all here. So feel free to be available here as well. Yes, please.
Okay, Prince, I have another meeting, okay?
Yes, sure.
Prince, I have a question.
Yes, please. May I know who's speaking?
Hi, Prince, this is Romay Das from SKTM, South Kuwait Toastmaster.
Yes, Romay. Yes, good to have you. Tell me.
Thanks. Prince, it was a very nice, very elaborate presentation. A quick question on this, on the skills you have told about, the issues versus person and active listening. So from my personal experience, and as you rightly pointed out, we have to have a poise and not get carried away during the discussion and when we are presenting.
True.
And there's a bandwidth, I may call it bandwidth, in which we have to conduct ourselves. And I guess it comes with a very concentrated training to be in that bandwidth, because we usually get carried away. And when we are not in the active listening mode, we tend to miss out very important points which the opponent team has said.
True.
So how to get into this particular bandwidth?
Okay, good question. Arumay, good question, Arumay. So basically, what you've asked or what you've spoken about is something which is so important in this debate, is like you rightly said, to maintain the balance, the poise, and not get carried away. It's very easy to get carried away. I must tell you, through my experience in debating, it's very easy to be carried away. I've seen people losing their cool to various extents, losing their cool in a debate because they don't agree with the point. So it happens to all of us. Now, if you are asking me about how we do this, I must tell you that it's an acquired skill. It's not something that something that we are probably born with. Maybe some are lucky enough to be born with that, but in a debate, it's something that it's an acquired skill. So the more you come up on this podium and debate, and the more you focus towards your active listening, and the more you focus towards looking at the issue and not the person, it's a skill that develops over a period of time, where nothing disturbs you. Nothing about the person disturbs you. Only specifically the points put forward disturb you. And you need to counter those specific points without losing your cool. And if you've noticed the big debates that happen, like I did mention about the presidential elections and things like that, you will notice that the discussions are firm and strong. They're not emotional. They're not something where people are throwing objects at each other and things. I'm talking about classy debates. So in these debates, it's mostly firm and I'm not again talking about the news channel debates, because that's not a great example on how debates are being conducted. But I'm talking about presidential debates as an example of class. Toastmasters being a US-based organization, we have to understand that in these debates, you have to maintain your poise and your calm when you're debating. And it's an acquired skill, just to answer your question. It comes up through more and more debates that you do. So, yeah. Yes, everyone is on mute. So is there anyone else who would like to ask any questions? Yes, DTM Vinod Panikkar. Hey, I've just unmuted you. Yes.
Hi, Prince.
Yes,
Thank you.
Vinod. Yes. Tell me.
One thing, first of all, thank you very much for the wonderful and elaborate presentation.
My pleasure.
Really liked it. I'm a very big fan of debating skills, and I believe that this skill is the only skill that can change the world and save the world. So I am that core believer in this because it gives flexibility for your mind. And
before you go ahead with your question, Vinod, I would like to invite you to witness our debates going forward. You can leave your contact details with the team.
Sure.
I'll do that. You can be online and witness the debates. You'll have a lot of fun because we have debates. I think twice a month is what we're planning now. So you can witness that.
I think one of our member, DTM Vinod Warrior, who was in Kuwait 5-6 years ago.
Yes.
He started like 2 years ago. Last year, we started our debate club in Dubai. And
wonderful.
Before that, we had competitions. So I was fortunate enough to be the part of that winning team last 2 years.
Wow,
and I'm a very big fan. So I say that we don't debate to win an argument. We debate to discover the truth. So because what happens is many people don't like argument. The word argument, when they say it is a fight something. So to get more members, I had to use a different strategy. So I told that it's basically to discover the truth.
Psychological framing.
Psychological framing. So one question that I like, I always find this in competitions, data and storytelling, like rational and emotional approach. Now, sometimes I see that people sometimes who use emotional approach also get away. I am very hardcore data person. If I am giving 3 points, I will give 3 data with that, or else I will not speak. But I have seen people using emotional approach, and especially when you are connecting with the audience, the emotional approach is a little bit connecting to them. Like if you're talking on social media and all these things. So if I say my daughter is doing like this, something like that. So people connect to that and this. So what is your thinking on that? How much percentage of data and emotions can be used?
Good point, Vinod, because this is something that is existing within debates. I mean, there is 2 different aspects, which is the data, of course, and even the emotional part of it. Now, how I would go forward with it is, for me, it's very simple. I need the data to back up my facts, to back up my discussion. There is no question. There is no running away from data. This is here to stay. Data is here to stay, right? But I would never ignore the emotion part of it, because by the end of a debate, what is your objective of the debate? Like it's where we started the debate. What was the first objective? Your goal is to win. Your goal is to convince the audience that this point is what matters and the other point is not as strong as what I'm talking about. And how else do you deal with human beings other than emotions? We are all emotional beings. There's no escaping that as well. So there is a mix of both these things. You have to touch that emotion for the kind of person who in the audience who would be carried away with that emotion. And you have to touch upon facts and figures for people like you and me, because we are factual. We want facts, we want numbers, we want statistics to back up your argument. So there has to be an even mix in both. There's no running away from data. There's no running away from emotions. Both are an integral part of a debate. And when you incorporate both these things while you're debating, you are developing different skill sets within yourself as well. Because when you talk about the emotional front, you are getting into persuasive speaking. Now, that is another aspect of Toastmaster public speaking, which is so important, where you, as a professional, you convince someone about what you have to say. You give a message to the audience that changes someone's life. So it's just to answer your question, it's a right mix of both, and you have to have both these approaches, which will also in turn help your own skill sets develop. That's what.
Thank you very much, Prince. Thank you.
Thanks, Vinod. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to? Noor, are you online? Okay, I'm not able to see. Okay, I can see. Sharon Joseph. Yes, Sharon Joseph. I've unmuted you.
Hi, good morning to all.
Hi, good morning, Sharon.
Sharon Joseph from Saudi Arabia, President of Taj Toastmaster Club, District 79. Great. Toastmaster Prince, it was a wonderful session. I really enjoyed it. And it was a great learning from this session.
My pleasure, Sharon.
And my question is, in debate team, we'll have a team. So whether we need to give equal chance to all members, or how we can manage it?
Okay. You mean for your own team as a debate team, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, good question, Sharon. Basically, how you do it within your team, okay, is two important things, like I did mention before. The distribution firstly should go upon how, as a team, you want to build your case. So when you build your case, you know that first you will speak about this point, then you will connect it to this point, and then you will talk about this, because when you talk about this after these 2 points, then this point has a lot of impact. And then you go on to another point, which is again connected through a dotted line, and you go ahead with building your whole case as a team. So the first speaker speaks the first 2 points, then the second speaker speaks the next 3 points, the last speaker speaks the next 3 or 4 points. So you've connected the dots through all your speakers and actually told a story to the audience. So the flow of the speech is how you distribute it. You decide as a team which are the points which need to be stated first, which need to be spoken later, and which are the final nail on the coffin, which will seal the debate. That's your intelligence as a team. The second important factor to also consider, which I also did mention before, is certain people are passionate about certain points, and you have to give it to them, because you may not be able to speak about women equality, for example, which maybe some woman partner or some lady partner in the team can speak about. Maybe she is more passionate about it than you are. Just a hypothetical example. So you have to give it to them, because the passion speaks in a debate. Passion is a very important part of a debate. It speaks. So you try to move the debate in a direction where you allocate that point to a person who's very passionate about the point. So these two things are very important in how you structure and distribute the discussion.
Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Sharon. Thanks a lot. Okay. Fine. I think, yep, looks like we are done with this debate. Is there anyone else who would, because I can't see any raised hands. So is there anyone else who would like to speak something? Maybe you can drop a message on the group. I'm just looking at that. Okay, guest Galal. Yeah. Do we have Galal here?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Prince George. My name is Sheikh Bashir.
Yes,
I'm from
Sheikh.
Don Bosco Toastmaster Club.
Yes.
I'm a member of this club.
Yes.
See, this debate, I will come to the question directly. In this debate, what will happen in the personal debate, not in the Toastmaster debate? If you have a debate continuously, the relationship will break between the two employees. What I feel is, why don't we give up instead of having a debate?
Okay, I got your point. Sheikh, firstly, are you speaking about a debate in an office atmosphere environment, or are you speaking about a debate in a debate club as a debate per se?
In family and office environment. No, not in club. So I'm talking about the
in general
outside
life.
the club, like
in general
office
life.
and school, in house environment, personal environment.
Okay, I got your point. You're talking about personal life, right? Basically, you're talking about personal and professional life, whether you want to give up the argument at the point and leave it. Well, Sheikh, that's a very subjective, way of looking at it. I mean, everyone has a right to look at it the way he wishes to. You may feel it's best to take the higher road, like we say, and just let it go and not argue about something. Someone else may want to argue about it and put his point forward. Again, it's subjective. It's not something I would like to directly comment upon. But again, it depends on your relationships. You don't want to strain your relationships with certain people, so you take the higher road. You don't want to strain your relationship with your boss, probably in office, because that's where salary comes from. So you take the higher road. It depends on whom you want to argue with and whom you don't want to argue with. But the most important part of a debate is that you don't argue. You're not arguing. You're just putting your presentation forward. You're just putting your point of view forward. It's about how you present it. It can be something so constructive that could open the eyes of your boss. Maybe, he may think, hey, Sheikh, I never thought of it this way. So it depends on how you put it forward. And if you think that it's going in a direction which is harming relationships, yes, of course, you have the right or the intelligence to decide that, at that time, whether you want to strain the relationship for that discussion or not. It's up to you completely. So yeah, that's what it is, Sheikh. I hope I've answered your question. Okay, I can't hear from Sheikh. Sheikh, you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, okay. Okay, done.
Yes, you're done. I'm okay.
Thank you, Sheikh. Thanks. Okay, I have the guest, Galal. Galal, would you like to speak something?
Yes, please. Our debaters, thank you for a great presentation. Are debaters allowed to engage with their audience with rhetorical questions, asking them to raise their hands several times before the end of the debate, to get everybody to nod and say yes or no, things like that? And also just regarding men and women talking about women's empowerment, I must disagree with you if I misunderstood it. I'm writing a book called Story of My Wife because I owe her my life, and I believe that I can speak better for women's empowerment than women themselves. And I have a song on YouTube called To Fadia with Love. Sorry to take that time.
No, it's great to hear from you, Galal. Thank you so much for some valid points put forward. And yes, we are all for women empowerment, of course. So we look forward to that. I mean, you can share it with us as well in the future. We would love to follow you on that. So good point put forward. Yeah. Now about this point that you raised. Okay, I've just muted everybody. Yeah, about this point that you've raised about rhetorical questions with the audience. Well, it's a very good point put forward. Now, how I would like to address this is, you don't win a debate unless you have the audience who's convinced that you have won the debate, right? Let's make it as simple as that. So if you are, as a public speaker, when you speak something, if you don't have the audience aligned with your thoughts and your opinions and what you are talking about, there is no debate. Where is the debate? Where is your proposition? What is the strength of your argument if you don't have anyone in the audience who says, Galal, you're right, this point makes sense, I was thinking about it, but you've come up with those facts and figures and that argument that's convinced me that you're right. So to answer your question, of course, yes, you have the right to ask rhetorical questions to the audience, to involve them. This goes back to the question that one of the people had just asked recently, just a short time ago, whether it's good to use the emotional angle. Yes, of course, it's good to use the emotional angle, because when you use the emotional angle with your audience, you ask them that who are the women who have stood up for you in your life? You wake up a certain emotion in the audience, and everyone is thinking about their mothers, their wives, their daughters, or whatever. So what happens with that is they feel that, Galal, you're right. I have women in my life who've changed the course of my life, and I owe my life, my success, whatever, to them. So what happens with that is you've got them in your pocket. When you have the audience in your pocket, believe me, you've almost won the debate, because that's what matters. Now, technically, you have the evaluators or the judges marking you up on a ballot. But if you have which is a completely different, how you're going to be evaluated in a debate. We have that coming up in a later stage in one of our presentations on how a debate is evaluated through a judge's ballot. That's, I think, 2 weeks from now is when we have the debate, discussion. But as the audience, they will, if there is a voting system, they will appeal to you on what you have told them, which has influenced their life. So just to summarize, Galal, yes, you can ask rhetorical questions to your audience, involve them in your argument, get their support as well. It will also increase your confidence as a debater. So yeah. I hope I've answered your question, Galal.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure, Galal. Yeah, thanks. Okay, is there anyone else? I'm just trying to go through this list of people who are here. Sharon, your hand is up, but I guess we already addressed your question. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. Unless there's someone who wants to come up and ask something. Yeah, okay, I think we're done for the day. Thank you everybody for being a part of this workshop today. Okay, sorry, there's a last minute something. Is there someone called Subiraj who has his hands up? I'm just trying to locate Subiraj. Okay, Subiraj, I have unmuted you. You have a question?
Yeah. Hi,
Yes,
Prince
Subiraj.
George.
Yes.
I think your presentation was very good. I think your name should be, instead of Prince, it should be King George. You're so good in.
Thank you. But my father won't allow me to take that from him.
Okay, no issue. My question is regarding data that you mentioned. Is suppose I'm participating in a club contest, competition, debate. I can use the name of genuine sources like UN or World Health Organization, but then give some fake data also. Who will know? Do you think they will have time to go and check all these things? In the meantime, I already won the competition. So I think this can be done. Am I right?
So, Viraj, you have a very valid point. Yes, it can be done. If that's the answer to your question, yes, it can be done.
Because
but
anyway,
again, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. This can be done. Okay. But what we follow, since we are all Toastmasters, we have the pillars of, what we go with what is ethics, in a debate. This is, there are some unsaid rules in life. There are some things you don't do. It's not spoken about. So we trust each other, that whatever facts and figures and sources you're coming up with are genuine. I trust you as my opponent that you're not going to fake that. This is what Toastmasters, the foundation of Toastmasters is about, right? So that's what we trust each other with. Yes, of course, there are loopholes in like every system, where you can come up with some fake things and get away with it. But if you're going to debate against me, I'm going to come back to you after the debate with those facts. And I'm going to tell you that, Subiraj, you did not fake something that was right. But you're gone for good. I know that. I agree with you. I agree with you. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There are loopholes, but we go with ethics. So that's what it is. Yeah. Thanks for your question. Thanks for your question. I have a question from Vinod Panikar again. Vinod, would you like to ask something? Yes, Vinod.
Okay. A quick question, Prince,
yes,
because
Vinod.
I already asked you questions. One is, do Toastmasters have a debating manual? Because when we look on it, it's a very old manual that they have. Have they revised anything
You
recently?
mean the debater manual?
Yeah, debate manual.
See, there is nothing official per se which is new, okay, which I agree with you. But as a club, we have worked on a lot of things and we are doing a lot of things. I don't know if you would want to consider that as official, although yes, it is under the Toastmasters umbrella. And if you're really interested, we could share it with you.
Yeah, thank you. That means I was looking for that. I only got some
You
old
can be
one.
in touch with me. You can be in touch with the team. I'm sure you know people in the team as well. We will share it with you because we are here to share or whatever information we have, because the end objective is for all of us to grow together, right? So we're more than happy to share it with you.
Thank you very much. And one more, what I think guest Gilal had said, to involve the audience.
Yes.
I would like to make a comment on that, because this year we had conducted debate contest and all. So what happens is, when you try to engage the audience, you have teams from two different people, right? And the support would be too differing. Intentionally, people may not raise the hand, the opposition may pick on that.
Yeah.
So that's a big risk. If it is in a club, it may be fine, because I saw that happening this year. Even in humorous also it happens. People intentionally don't laugh, even if they feel like laughing for their other club opponents.
Yeah. Again, that again boils down to what we just discussed was, some things, like ethics. There are some things which are unsaid, some unsaid rules that boil down to ethics. So, it's again a thin line, but we try to follow that as Toastmasters. So that's what it is.
Thank you, dear. Thank you very much.
Thanks. I have a question from Ankur. Ankur, I have just unmuted you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello,
Ankur.
sir. I'm from District 98.
Yes, Ankur. Tell me.
And firstly, sir, thank you for this educative session.
My pleasure, and glad to have you, from another district altogether. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I have a question related to defining the terms of resolution.
Yeah.
So, sir, what if the opponent and you cannot be on the same page regarding the definition?
Okay. Good point, Ankur. So, like I did mention, the definition or defining terms is something you do much before you start even preparing for a presentation. So once the resolution is stated, the teams are made, the two team captains have to discuss how they will define the terms. So the affirmative team, if the burden is on the affirmative team, the first side, who's going to push forward a resolution, right? So the affirmative team captain is going to say that I define money as this, I define something as this, put forward his definitions, share it with the opposition team, okay? And ask the opposition captain, do you agree with me? If the opposition team agrees with him, he will say, I agree to the terms. So now that the terms have been agreed with, and of course, if he disagrees, he can always tweak the terms, which again go back to the first captain to say, okay, fine, I agree with the tweaked term. Okay. Now, once both the team captains agree on the terms, that's when the preparations start. So when you start your preparations, conclude your preparations, and come up to debate, you are on the same page. So this entire point that you've raised is a very pre step. It happens much before you even sit together as a team and start preparing, because you need to know what is the flow of the debate. You don't just come up and speak about X while the other person is speaking about Y. So you agree, prepare, conclude, debate. That's how it is.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Ankur. All right, fantastic. Yep, thank you so much. I think I will call that as the end of this session. I know it's extended a lot. It's gone up to 12 o'clock, but then thanks to all the people who've been here and been through this session. I hope we could add value and probably influence something in your lives as well, because that's our whole objective as Toastmasters. Thank you so much for being here, and you can reach out to us at any time. We will be in touch with you as a club for all our future sessions and future whatever sessions that we have in our club. Feel free to come in, witness our debates, witness our workshops, and I'm sure we'll all grow together. So thanks a lot. Thanks again. Over and out. Thank you. I would end the meeting here. Thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you.